test of athletic endurance, pushing the human body beyond its limitations. Knowing full well the toll that sometimes cruel sport can exact. What had been considered human limits became triathlon goals. In their frenzy to go farther and faster, triathletes often ran full speed into their own fragile humanity. Perhaps the greatest triathlete of all time is Dave Scott, one of the founding fathers of the sport. He emerged in 1980, and the six-time Ironman champion redefined the concept of endurance. Mark Allen was a lifeguard in Del Mar, California in 1982 on his way to medical school, but he became a five-time world champion instead. Scott Molina earned his nickname the Terminator because of his intimidating style of racing. And along with the Golden Boy, Scott Tinley, they comprised the sport's Big Four, the legendary group that has, and to some extent still does, rule the sport of triathlon. Well, in Oceanside, California, it should be one of the most competitive races ever. This is the first time the Big Four have raced together in California since 1982. And there are thousands here today to watch it. They've come to watch a unique experiment in triathlons, a setup designed for the spectators. This is an invitation-only event. Only the best are here. Along with the Big Four, some of the most talented upstarts in the world. This is the first of a four-stop tour with a total of $230,000 at stake called the Jeep Tri Prix. And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt. Unlike the long-distance triathlons you may have seen in the past, which are well over 100 miles, the athletes cover that distance in just over 8 hours. This event places more emphasis on speed than endurance. Now, the competitors still swim, bike, and run, but the Tri Prix course is just under 32 miles, and it's designed in a loop so that the competitors pass in front of the spectators some 16 times, and that's a first in this sport. Working with me today is Mike Plant, the man they call the Dean of Triathlon Riders. And Mike, why the new format?
Well, Tim, the whole purpose of this event is to bring the spectators and the athletes in intimate contact. You know, in most triathlons, even short-distance triathlons, the athletes start, they go out, they come back. The spectators have no idea of what's happened. In this event, the action will take place right in the spectators' laps.
Now, what impact will that have on the athletes, if any?
I think a tremendous amount. All week long, the athletes have been talking about how excited they are for the chance to race in front of their family and their friends, and race in front of a lot of people who have no idea what a triathlon is all about.
This course does look relatively safe, but when we traveled it yesterday, there are some tight turns with some tough angles.
Oh boy, that's true. If you went out here with your wife and kids today and went over the course, you wouldn't think anything of it. But the fact is that at the speed and level of intensity at which the athletes will be racing, it's going to get crazy out there.
All right, Mike, in the transition area, it's all business. Things look a little bit tense to me as you look at Dave Scott, six-time Ironman champion.
Well, this is a short race. This doesn't play to Dave's strengths.
Scott Tinley racing in front of his hometown crowd. Some camaraderie, huh?
Well, these guys race against each other all the time, but they're good friends.
That's Mark Allen, five-time world triathlon champion. And Scott Molina trying to make a comeback of sorts.
Yeah, he looks nice and loose. He's got a lot on the line, but you can't tell it from the look on his face.
I think when you look at the athletes that are getting ready for this race, you have to consider this man, Mike Pigg, one of the favorites. He's won 3 of the 4 races he's been in this year.
Well, he stood the sport on its ear last year, although he's not quite comfortable with the role of favorite.
I like being the underdog. That's much more funner. Sometimes, you try not to, but you let it go to your head, and that's not too good. So I'd rather be the underdog coming into a race.
The athletes are gathering on the beach for the start. When we talked with Mark Allen yesterday, he told us about the strength of this field.
The complexion of the sport has changed in the past couple of years. You know, it used to be there was 4 guys winning all the major races. Now there's 5, 6, 7 guys who on any particular day have a very realistic chance of winning. That's a good sign of the sport. One, the audience is going to, they have something fresh to look at. They can see the old guys versus the new guys. It's kind of a new challenge. And it just shows also that there's more people out there who are able to train at the level they need to. They're getting the corporate support. There's enough money in the races now that it can support more than 4 or 5 guys.
The women's field has been thinned somewhat by injury, but PAULA NEWBY-FRASER is here, and the 1986 Ironman champion is healthy.
Yeah, she's tough. This may be Paula's year in the short-distance events.
See Colleen Cannon there in the back. As the competitors go through their final mental preparations, let me tell you about the water conditions for the start of the race. Surf is 2 to 4 feet with choppy conditions, and the temperature is a brisk 65 degrees, so wetsuits are a must. Tough conditions even for the elite.
I think the chop is going to make it very tough for everybody out there today. The key to the start here is to get out in front early, avoid some of the kicking and clawing, and get out into the waves and going.
All right, Mike, we're all set. Mike, it looked to me as if they started before the siren.
Yeah, that's a typical almost a triathlon tradition is a false start. Nobody ever waits for the gun.
All right, let's talk about the early strategy now as they fight the surf here. I would suspect that the ones that understand the ocean, the rips, the currents, have the advantage here.
No question about it. As a matter of fact, you watch the swimmers run for the first 50 yards. Now they're dolphining through the shallow water. The trick, of course, is to go underneath the waves and then come out on the other side. Although the buoyant wetsuits can make a difference, can make it hard to get under some of the bigger waves.
There are some strong swimmers in this event that aren't expected to do well later in the later events. They're used pretty much as rabbits.
Well, that's right. This is their chance to sort of get into the spotlight. Those are the swimmers in the red caps. The elite athletes, the seeded athletes are in the white caps, at least the seeded men.
This is the part of the race where some of the athletes get pushed and punched and kicked as they all bunch together until they finally break out into their own competitive groups.
Oh, it gets real tough in there. Athletes can lose their goggles, get kicked in the nose, all sorts of things can happen. The waves sometimes are the least of their worries.
A virtual unknown named Rip Esselstyn from Austin, Texas has grabbed the early lead. Certainly not one we expect to see him later in the competition.
No, you probably won't, as a matter of fact. This happens a lot, where you get an athlete who's a tremendous swimmer, gets out in front and goes hard. The elite athletes, the guys in the white caps, actually prefer that because they've got a guy out there now that they can sort of sight on. He'll do the navigating for them, set the pace, and they can sit in and wait for the later stages of the swim to make their moves.
All right, Mike, as they head toward that first buoy, let's set the swim course for you. The swim portion is 1.2 miles, and that includes a 100-yard sprint down the beach. They have to make 2 loops. The course is well marked with flags and buoys. Now, the bike course is 24 miles. That's 9 loops, 2.6-mile rectangle. Small, tight course, certainly different than other triathlons. And the final event is the run. There are 6 one-mile loops here. That, too, is designed to give spectators full view of the entire course and the competitors throughout this race.
Tim, here we can see the swimmers start to line up behind one another. Drafting is illegal on the bike ride, but it's legal on the swim. Drafting or slipstreaming saves a lot of energy, and it also allows you to let the other guy do the navigating for you.
Mike, you can also see how things have thinned out into small pockets of competition.
Yeah, and we've still got the orange caps in the lead. The seated athletes in the white caps are hanging back, waiting for their opportunity.
All right, Mike, so as the swimmers head toward the beach and their second loop, the elite group just sitting off that lead now, appearing to be pacing themselves behind the rabbits, the pace setters. And we'll be back. Welcome back to Oceanside, California for the Tri Prix. The athletes are just completing the second loop of the swim, preparing to finish this portion of the event. Interesting that we still do not have one of the elite members leading the group.
Not unusual. That happens all the time. A lot of the better swimmers sometimes are not the better overall triathletes. It's really difficult at this part of the swim. Tough on the legs, struggling through the shallow water. Here's Chris Henshaw leading the swim on the way in.
Chris Henshaw finished second to Scott TINLEY at the 1985 Ironman. Interesting in that he's using the surf almost to ride it in. So
yeah, this is real significant, man. He's real close. That's Mike Pigg without the hat. He's lost his cap on the swim, but he's in terrific position.
Mike Pigg looking over his shoulder at Mark Allen as another one of the big four come in and beats down on Pigg.
He's liable to be looking over his shoulder all day at Mark Allen. I'm sure he'd rather be looking over his shoulder, though, than looking up ahead trying to catch him.
Choppy water conditions, I'm sure, has made things very difficult for the swimmers, and you can see fatigue is also a factor. They are not hustling up to that transition area.
No, that's for sure, and this is a very critical part of the race. They've got to get going here. They can lose a lot of time.
Mike Pigg following his game plan. He's hatless, now will struggle to get out of his wetsuit. Transition paramount in these short-distance triathlons.
Yeah, he's ahead of his game plan. I don't think he thought he'd be ahead of Mark Allen. Here's Allen here struggling to get out of his wetsuit.
Mike Pigg picking up the pace now. This would be an extremely quick transition for him.
He's really flying, and I'm sure that Mark Allen is real surprised to see Mike Pigg ahead of him after the swim.
Both now picking up the pace. Here's Pigg now in the transition area, getting out of his wetsuit. He'll change quickly, get the shoes on, and get back on that bike as quickly as possible. Here comes Mark Allen now, also into the transition period.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's head-to-head competition. They're watching each other change, watching each other leave. High-intensity stuff.
Chris Henshaw is now on his bike. He's on his way out.
And there's Mark Allen right next to Mike Pigg. Allen putting his helmet on already. It looks like he's going to get out in front of Mike Pigg. There's the importance of transitions. You've got to go fast. Mark Allen has gone ahead of Mike Pigg coming out of the transition area.
The leaders are out of the transition area now. Mike Pigg, very aggressive cyclist, needs to catch these guys. They are now the rabbits on this bike course.
That's right, and that probably works to Mike Pigg's advantage right now, certainly also to Mark Allen's. They have people to run down.
As you look down the strand, look for the white helmets, the elite, Mike Pigg and Mark Allen, the cyclists who are certain to be factors later on.
Yeah, it looks at this stage that that's Allen still in front, Pigg closing on him from the rear.
Back in the transition area, the first woman is out of the water. It's Shannon Delaney racing in front of the hometown crowd. She had a very strong swim.
She sure did. She's a lifeguard in Del Mar. She knows the water well. That was her goal, to win the swim. Now she's out in front of the hometown crowd. Let's see what she can do.
She also knows that Paula Newby-Fraser and Colleen Cannon will be quickly behind her.
Yeah, they sure will. They'll be hot on her trail. Another woman who'll be hot on her trail is Eni Jones, who has traditionally been the fastest swimmer in the sport. Looks like Shannon Delaney has taken over that position.
Does this look like a fast transition to you?
No, Shannon is not quite as quick as some of the other women will be.
Back with the leaders as they take the first turn and head up the only hill on the course. Mark Allen now and Mike Pigg closing that gap.
Yeah, Mark Allen still out in front of Mike Pigg. Mike Pigg is setting his sights.
There are the leaders rapidly diminishing. Their strong swim in vain now as Mark Allen closes the gap.
Yeah, here's Allen. Look at him, lean and mean, boy. We hate to belabor the point, but the race here is Allen trying to keep Mike Pigg in his sights. And there's a change of lead. There's Mike Pigg right on Allen's side. Looks like we're going to have a change in the front.
Pigg came in hoping to pick up 2 seconds in each turn. 6 turns on this course, so that would be 12 seconds per loop.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Mike Pigg is the kind of guy who can do it.
Garrett McCarthy is the leader.
I don't think he's going to last very long. Here we go. Here we go. There's Mike Pigg going by Mark Allen. Isn't that a charge?
Mike Pigg, very aggressive cyclist, pushes those big gears. Allen, he looks effortless.
Yeah, but he can't be too effortless. There's Garrett McCarthy, still in the lead.
But all the attention beginning to focus on Mike Pigg and Mark Allen.
Pigg trying to pull away from Allen. He's got McCarthy in his sights.
How important is it for him to pull away here, to gain a lead before the run?
Yeah, Mike Pigg said before the race that he needs a minute at least coming off.
Back in the transition area, the women continue to come out. This is Paula Newby-Fraser. She was the favorite coming in.
This is our first contender in the transition area. Paula Newby-Fraser, 1986 Ironman champ. Look at her go. She's working hard.
But struggling. She dropped her bike.
Shannon Delaney still in front. And Pigg. Look at him work. This is his aggressive style. He's not a stylish rider, but boy, he goes hard.
Gasping for air, handlebars almost like a skier's tuck.
Yeah, those are the new aerodynamic bars. That's exactly what they're designed to do, is put the athletes in an aerodynamic position.
Pigg and Allen. Is he laboring more than he should?
No way. This is the way Mike Pigg rides, all out.
This is McCarthy, the most dangerous part of this course now. Very tight turn, tough angle.
And behind McCarthy is Rob Mackel. Here comes the charge. Pigg in front, Allen right behind him.
Sitting in third and fourth place, they now hit the strand, the straightaway.
They won't be in third and fourth place for long, that's for sure.
Wind along the low coastline could be a factor here. Shannon Delaney, who had built a substantial lead of more than 2 minutes in front of Paula Newby-Fraser in the transition area, she has a flat tire.
That's a real shame in front of the hometown crowd. Of course, you're not allowed to get any outside aid, so Shannon has to change her own tire.
Paula Newby-Fraser now certain to take the lead away from Shannon Delaney.
It's unfortunate for Shannon, but Paula's where she is expected to be, near the front. And Shannon's still struggling.
Short distance like this, though, a flat tire obviously would take him right out of the race.
Oh, it just kills her.
Mark Allen seemingly in a very comfortable, solid pace. They are in the second of 9 laps. Our leaders, still Macklin and McCarthy, but look behind. It's Pig and Allen. Perhaps spurred on by the enthusiastic crowd and the knowledge that the man behind them is Allen, but Pig pushes the pace even harder. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Oceanside Tri Prix, where the former diesel mechanic Mike Pig seems to have found his rhythm.
Boy, isn't that for sure? He's doing 2 things well. He's turning his pedals over quickly, and he's riding big gears. That means he's going fast.
Mark Allen, though, still keeping his pace, still right behind Mike Pig.
Well, there's a little gap opening up. You can see that Allen is farther away than he was the last time we saw him. Mike Pig is starting to make his move.
You can see him start to push here. Now, he said yesterday he wanted to gain in the turns and on the hills, and he's on that slight incline right now.
He just jumped on that hill. He really did. He's trying to lose Mark Allen. What he wants to do here is get out of sight.
He also wants to catch the leader.
Yeah, this is Rob Mackel. He spent a lot of the time last year in short distance races in front of Mike Pig and Mark Allen, sort of waiting, holding the lead for them.
Mark Allen does not look like he's pushing, although I'm sure he doesn't want to lose contact with this man, Mike Pig.
There's a little bit of desperation in Mark Allen's racing right now. This is the critical point for him. If he loses Allen here, he won't get him back.
What goes through Mackel's mind here, knowing that Pig's bearing down on him?
Well, Mackel's kind of used to it. He's an improving triathlete, but he's not a strong runner. There's Mike Pig coming up on Rob right now. Look at him go. Mackel has served as a rabbit up until this point, but that's over. And Allen is coming strong as well.
Mackel now has been passed. Mike Pig has the lead. And I'm certain that that's the last time we'll see Mackel in the front of the pack.
That's for sure.
Just as aggressively as the men, PAULA NEWBY-FRASER, the women's leader, flies through the most difficult turn.
I thought she looked more aggressive than the men. Paula's a good rider. She knows what to do out there.
Aerodynamically tough. Her closest rival, Colleen Cannon, what now, 45 seconds back?
About 45 seconds back. This is an important race for PAULA NEWBY-FRASER.
And the duel continues between Pig and Allen. Pig again with reckless abandon through the turns, picking up more and more precious time.
Yeah, the story continues. Mike Pig trying to lose Mark Allen. As you can see, he's gaining time. He's putting a little ground in between himself and Allen.
With the current pace, Pig is gaining 12 seconds a lap on Allen. He's averaging nearly 28 miles an hour.
That's incredible when you consider there's a hill and a tough downhill corner. Here's Allen coming around.
Much more cautious in the turn.
Well, it looked it, to tell you the truth. Mark Allen really doesn't look on his game today, and he needs to be. He can't afford to lose this kind of time this early in the race. There's Pig, riding with the disc wheel in back. That's for aerodynamics. A lot of the athletes chose not to use a disc wheel in this course. They thought the turns would make them ineffective, but Pig obviously thinks they're important.
Allen doesn't seem to have that same rhythm now. He seems to be forcing it more.
He looks like he's forcing it. Look at his face. He's looking around a little bit. He's not quite as calm and collected and focused as he usually is. Pig is really starting to gain some time here. He's putting it to Mark Allen. This is the test, the crux of the race. Allen following.
Allen now lapping people. The racers in front of him serving only as obstacles, while Pig out in front is clear and pretty much maintaining the strategy he came into the race with, pushing it on the hills. You can see him stand.
This is no surprise to us. He said so yesterday.
Well, what works out really good for me is if I can hang on in a swim and have maybe 20 seconds back or 30 seconds back. That way I can see the lead bikers going out of the transition area, and I know I'm in the reach of the lead. And then the hunger really starts, and I start pedaling really hard and get up to the front. And then if things are feeling good, I try to put a minute or so on everyone. That's how my game plan goes.
The feeling of invincibility of the Big Four may be gone now. Mark Allen told us yesterday he was concerned about Pig.
Preferably, I'd like to see Mike Pig about 10 miles behind me. but if he's not going to be 10 miles behind me, to be right in front of me is the best place because I can keep an eye on him. He usually sets the fastest pace on the bike, and if I can stay with him, I know I'm having a good race.
Certainly a contrast in styles between these two cyclists, Mike Pigg, Mark Allen, and who knows, we may be witnessing a changing of the guard. Maybe the Big Four is not invincible. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Tri Prix. Mike Pigg now in the last of the 9 laps on the cycling course. And he's rolling into the transition area now with a lead of 1 minute, 31 seconds on Mark Allen.
He's already started to get out of his shoes, preparing for the transition. Obviously, once again, time is of the essence. Every second counts.
And the change he will make here is minimal. Just the shoes, he'll wear the shirt, get rid of the helmet, and he'll be out.
He'll be out as fast as he can go. Adding to the tension here is the fact that the announcer is counting down the seconds, so the athletes are aware of whether they're fast or slow in transition.
Pretty fast transition.
Oh boy, he looks so strong. Look at him run out there. He's absolutely top speed. This is not the Mike Pigg of 1987. This is the new version. The guy who can run, the guy who can gain time and then hold it on the run.
He's also very conscious that Mark Allen will make a change and be out and make up time on the run, so he needs every second that he can attain here.
This boy is running scared right now. Running scared, but there's a new confidence there too.
Mark Allen, 1 minute, 31 seconds behind Pigg. His transition now becomes paramount.
Paramount is not the word for it. Mark Allen said that he couldn't let Mike get more than a minute ahead.
Mark Allen about to roll into the transition area. He too knows that a mistake here could be catastrophic.
It can be, and Mike Pigg did not make a mistake, so there's really not a lot of time that Mark Allen can pick up here. All he can do is run fast.
Allen usually, though, is very strong, very fast in the transition area.
Well, he is, but once again, Mike was very strong and very fast in the transition area as well.
Seems to be struggling with his shoes.
Well, he's certainly done nothing special. Again, I mean, what can you do?
If there's anybody that can catch Mike Pigg on the run, though, it's this man, and I think Pigg knows it.
Well, Pigg is running like he knows it. He's working real hard out there. He's running probably in the neighborhood of 5 minutes flat per mile. Mark Allen looking to gain some of that 1 minute, 32 seconds back.
Both athletes now will try to get in the rhythm on the run, which uses different muscles. It looked as if both were trying to stretch those muscles as they came into the transition area off the bike, and now both seem comfortable with this event.
Well, comfortable perhaps, certainly fast. Mark Allen working hard up the hill, trying to get his legs loosened up.
How hard is it on the legs to make that transition?
Well, it's real hard, especially with the hill. Here goes Pigg. He's really looking strong.
It's become a two-man race, no question about that, Pigg and Mark Allen. The question begs, where are the rest of the big people? Scott Molina now into the transition area. He's 2 minutes and 51 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, he'd need a superhuman effort to catch the leaders at this point.
Paula NEWBY-FRASER continues to lead the women's portion of the race. 1 full minute now in front of Colleen Cannon.
And Paula's a good runner. A minute is a lot for anyone in the women's side of the sport to make up.
Scott TINLEY now into the transition area. He too is struggling, but he's about to go after his strongest event, the run.
Scott has always been a strong runner. He's also been among the best in the transition area, but he's really too far back at this point to be effective.
Meanwhile, Mike Pigg on the descent, ready to hit the strand and come back again up in front of the spectators.
Racing down the hill, stretching his stride out. Again, he's not holding anything back. He knows that Mark Allen is coming.
Are you surprised at all with the development of this race?
Well, I think very much. Mike Pigg got much more time off the bike than I had expected he would be able to pull.
The first woman is into the transition area. That's Janine Daly. Obviously, there's confusion on her part. She's in early after just 8 laps, unaware that she has 1 lap to go.
Yeah, that's got to be a mistake. Janine just lost count out there. There's no question that the leader, still on the bike course, is PAULA NEWBY-FRASER.
Now, that's a race official telling her to go on. Race officials must not have helped her with her lap count. They, too, must be confused.
Well, there's a lot going on out there, and, of course, they have official lap counters. We'll see what happens, but this is just not right.
Janine Daly was not on the leaderboard. It is PAULA NEWBY-FRASER who is still out on the bike course. She is the leader, followed by Colleen Cannon. Janine Daly has gone through the transition area, obviously a mistake.
Yeah, and PAULA, of course, is unaware of the confusion. She just keeps hammering on, trying to build on that minute lead.
Meanwhile, no confusion out front. Mike Pigg, nice rhythm, nice pace. He still has the lead. Although looking at this, it looks as if he's losing some ground. It didn't look like he was pushing it as hard as he was before.
Well, I think he's pushing it as hard, but he's losing some ground to Mark Allen, certainly. Mike Pigg comes up the hill. He looks real strong.
Pigg is averaging 4.5-minute laps.
We're looking at probably a 1:15 or so interval. Mike Pigg came off the bike with a 1:32 interval. Mark Allen is picking up somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 seconds per lap. Here comes Allen from behind. He's been in this situation before. No athlete in the sport is better than Mark Allen.
PAULA NEWBY-FRASER now officially into the transition area. She has completed the cycling part. Now she will take the run portion as the leader.
Yeah, Janine Daly is history, of course. PAULA now, again, officially is the leader.
We repeat that Janine Daly, who has gone through the transition area and is on the course running, is not the leader. That is a mistake.
That is a terrific transition. PAULA was real quick in there, and she's really a tremendous runner.
We'll find out when we return. They call Oceanside, California, the gateway to San Diego. With 4 miles of beach, we are actually 30 miles north of the city of San Diego, the home of this sport they call triathlon. Although everybody here is obviously not interested in the sport, surfing is also big in this part of the country, sunny California. Welcome back to Oceanside, California for the Tri Prix. Tim Brandt and Mike Plant. Mike, with 2 laps to go, the story has been Mike Pigg, but now that it's getting extremely hot, can fatigue be a factor? Can he hold his pace?
Oh, it can be a factor. It's crunch time, that's for sure. Mark Allen is the fastest, the best pure runner in the sport. Mike Pigg has given it all, everything he had on the bike ride to gain the minute lead off the bike. The question is, Mark Allen is awful tough. Mike can feel him coming from behind. Every step he's moving closer.
And we remind you that Pigg is averaging 4.5 minutes a lap, but Allen's gaining 10 seconds per lap, wheeling in the leader like an angler with his catch.
Here's Mike Pigg coming through, back through the transition area in front of the crowd. It's a very exciting thing. It's also a very public failure if you start to lose it.
Time was a factor for Allen coming into this race. He says he likes the later starts rather than the early morning triathlons. Seems to get his body in sync as we look at Colleen Cannon, who's now in the transition area and ready to go forth in the run.
Colleen is a minute behind the leader, PAULA NEWBY-FRASER, struggling with her shoes and then finding her way out of the transition area. Let's see what kind of legs she's got under her after that hard bike ride.
Also in the transition area, Joy Hansen.
Joy is a tremendous runner. As a matter of fact, she was an All-American at the University of Arizona. She could be a factor late in this race. We mentioned heat. We mentioned late in the day. Joy is a lady that can do it. And complete another lap.
She was a pentathlete.
Well, as a matter of fact, she was a national champion in the modern pentathlon. So Joy is a multi-event athlete from way back.
PAULA NEWBY-FRASER, the leader, continues to charge after the course. Seems very strong here.
She is very strong here, and she will be stronger as the race goes on. Again, Colleen Cannon and Joy Hansen coming from behind really have their work cut out for them. Here's Colleen.
This event, unlike the ultra-long distance triathlons, more of a sprint.
Yeah, you can see that here. It's a sprint. These people are not simply surviving out there. They're racing all out.
Joy Hansen now hits the first incline. She's in third place in the women's competition.
You can see the experience, the track-trained speed behind Joy Hansen's stride. She looks really good, light on her toes, really moving along.
As you look at Mike Pigg, we've talked about the difference between this and the long-distance triathlons. Which one is more difficult, Mike?
Well, they're totally different animals. A lot of the athletes think the shorter races are even tougher than the longer ones, frankly, because they hurt.
Is there a chance in a situation like this that the athlete could put it all out too early and not have enough for the finish?
No question. Here's Mark Allen. The term the athletes use is blowing up. You can blow up out there and drop your pace a minute a mile if it gets bad enough.
Newby, ladies and gentlemen, running through.
This is the last turn for Mike Pigg. He's going to head up the strand now into the finish line.
He's really rolling, and obviously Mark Allen has no chance to catch him whatsoever.
Former diesel mechanic. He's won 3 of the 4 races he's entered this year. Certainly one of the upstarts in this. Ready to join perhaps the elite of the sport, the Big Four.
I don't think there's any question. Here's Mike Pigg. Boy, is he strong.
Mike Pigg breaks the script, finishes in a time of 1 hour and 48 minutes, a fast time for this distance.
Really fast for this distance. He never let up for a minute out there.
Winner of the first Tri Prix. It is a series worth $230,000.
It's an indication of how fast they went, that Mike needs to keep moving. He needs to cool down a little bit, keep his legs working, keep that blood moving, because otherwise when he stops, his legs will have a cramp.
Mark Allen, 34 seconds behind Pigg, second place. Made up a full minute on the run, though.
It's fascinating because, you know, he made up a full minute, and that's what Mike Pigg thought that Mike Pigg needed. It's what Mark Allen knew that he couldn't let Mike Pigg have. The 34 seconds was the difference.
Mark Allen with a strong swimming background, but has become near world class as a runner. So all the attention now will focus on the women's race. Paula Newby-FRASER still the leader, followed by Colleen Cannon, who is a minute back. Joy Hansen still very much in the hunt. We'll come back with the conclusion of the women's race after this commercial message and a word from your local station. CBS Sports.
Welcome back to Oceanside, California. Our women's standings, Paula Newby-FRASER still in first, followed by Colleen Cannon and Joy Hansen. Our men's winner, Mike Pigg. Tim Brandt is down with Mike and second place finisher, Mark Allen.
Mike Pigg and Mark Allen are with us. You said you wanted a minute coming off that bike. Mike, that's exactly what you had.
Yeah, that's what I needed when Mark Allen's behind me and Scott Moline and Tinley. I need a little cushion to get in the rhythm and hopefully hang on for 6 laps.
Mike, we talked about the crowd and what factor that would be. Did that help coming around there? Because I know you were tired getting off that bike.
Yeah, the crowd definitely gets your adrenaline running and it psychs you up and it helps me focus more into the race, just having some people yelling for you.
Mark, how about he has that minute lead coming off the bike? At that time, it seemed insurmountable.
Well, he had about a minute and a half at the end of the bike, and I figured if I was within a minute, I had a real good shot. A minute and a half was maybe an outside chance, and he ran well enough to hold it down to a 30-second lead or so, and he had a great run and an excellent bike.
What were your impressions of the course and the spectators?
It was a great course. Each time you come around, the spectators are cheering for you, and there's times in any race where you start to kind of lose your concentration. You hear the crowd cheering, it really gets you back in the groove.
Question I got to ask you now. Everybody talks about the Big Four. Is the youngster up there now with the Big Four?
Oh, we can start calling a Big 5 maybe now.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much.
On lap number 5, Paula Newby-FRASER is still in the lead by a minute.
Follower, we're on.
Paula Newby-FRASER has had the lead in the women's competition since Shannon Delaney relinquished the top spot with a flat tire. No signs of slowing up, though Joy Hansen is closing the gap and has made up nearly a minute. She's now in second place.
Joy once again using her strong running to go past Colleen Cannon.
With 1 lap to go and just 35 seconds down, can she catch up?
Well, that's a lot of time, but Joy has the speed.
And she looks strong here.
Well, she really does. She really does. And she's starting to open it up. You can see her turn her legs over faster and faster as she goes. She ignored that aid station. She's ready to start picking up some ground.
Very unique style, runs on her toes. More conventional style here with the leader, Paula Newby-FRASER. Very machine-like, rhythmic, methodical.
Yeah, she is. And she's looking a little bit tired there, to tell you the truth.
This has turned into a race. Joy Hansen is closing that gap rapidly.
It's getting tighter and tighter. Joy Hansen came off the bike a minute 30 in back of Paula.
Final descent as they come down to the strand and the straightaway. This is lap 5, 1 lap to go.
Yeah, it's really getting tight in there. Joy has already picked up a minute. Look at her go. 45 seconds down in closing.
Paula Newby-FRASER, I'm sure, has no clue that she has closed the gap like that.
No, it's very difficult. I'm sure some of the spectators are telling her, but what?
They've got the ribbon. Look at the left there. They've got the ribbon out. This is not the final lap. This is lap 5. They still have 1 left to go. I wonder if they're confused.
Well, I don't know. I would think that Paula's confused.
She's asking the question if she did 6 laps.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought she was on 5.
According to our count, our statisticians and our spotters on the course, only 5 laps have been run. You ever seen this before?
Well, I never have, as a matter of fact, and Paula seems to be accepting it. It's difficult for the athletes to keep track of what they're doing out there. Obviously, when the tape goes up, the race is over.
Here comes Joy Hansen.
Well, that's, I guess Joy is in second. She's not looking all that confident about the number of laps that she's run.
A bizarre ending to the women's competition as they look at their watches. They look at their split times, though they'll know they haven't been 6 laps.
Well, I mean, it would seem, and usually these athletes are... See, Joy looks a little bit confused there. He looks a little bit concerned.
And here comes Colleen Cannon down the strand. I can't believe in a situation like this that the competitors are able to keep track of the number of laps that have been run, but it is up to the race officials, and the Tri Prix race officials have inadvertently stopped this race after just 5 laps, 1 lap shy of the finish. Obviously, a mistake, but the competitors seem to be accepting it.
Well, they really haven't got any choice, although I don't know whether they're congratulating each other or trying to figure out what happened.
Confusion continues to reign here in Oceanside, California. The race, which was inadvertently stopped, has just as quickly begun again. They pushed the competitors back onto the course, realizing, in fact, that only 5 laps have been completed. They need the final lap. Joy Hansen now got out of the transition area of the first, and she now leads Colleen Cannon second.
Yeah, this really is bizarre. Actually, Colleen started. There's Paula Newby-FRASER. We think she won the race, but now she's in 3rd.
Protest has to be filed. This is incredible. I haven't seen this before.
Well, it's absolutely crazy. And here's our second winner of the day, Joy Hansen.
And they've got the ribbon up again.
There it is.
Now, is Joy Hansen the leader?
I don't know. Maybe you throw a die. I don't know. We got
She's
2
as
winners.
confused and frustrated, I think, as everyone else. This is Colleen Cannon.
Well, Colleen's moved up a place or something.
There's Murphy Reinschreiber, the race director. He's going to check, I'm sure, with his spotters, his statisticians, and try to get a recount, find out exactly what's taking place. Confusion? You bet. It's also embarrassing.
Oh, it's a tough spot to be in. I wouldn't want to be out there with him right now.
What kind of system do they use here? Now here is Paula Newby-FRASER. She came in 3rd, or did she come in 1st? She crossed the ribbon. They stopped the race.
Well, Paula doesn't know any more than anyone else does.
Yeah, they got off a minute ahead of you.
Well, you heard her. She said that's not fair.
Well, they're trying to figure out what is fair and what isn't right now.
Colleen's saying you won, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. The race was stopped after 5. I think they have to end it there. And now it is official. Paula Newby-FRASER is the winner of the Tri Prix. Joy Hansen finishes 2nd, Colleen Cannon 3rd. Well, in fact, after reviewing the results, there had, in fact, only been 5 laps. They were pushed back out to finish and complete the race. Your reaction that they pulled you in after 5 laps?
The thing is that when you're racing, you're concentrating on what you're doing, and I had sort of lost count of my laps. I know I lost count on the bike, and I had to ask somebody. So when I came in, what was obviously the 5th lap, and somebody pushed me to the finish chute and the banner was up, you know, I figured that the people standing at the side of the road knew better than I did. You know, their state of mind was better than mine, so I figured, well, if this is the end, this is the end. I didn't complain.
It's a moot point now. Your lead at the time was only 35 seconds over Joy Hansen. Could you have held on?
35 seconds, yes, definitely. I don't think that I would have lost 35 seconds in 1 mile.
Okay. Joy, you did have 35 seconds. You had closed into that distance. Did you have enough strength to go that last lap and beat her?
It's hard to say. I didn't know I was that close to her coming in that lap. I saw her finish. I think I was a minute and a half down, or 1:35 at the start of the run, and I had only made up a little over a minute up to that point. So Paula would have had to feel a little bit weaker for me to catch her. But I was running strong. I had a good race today. But I think if Paula had kept her pace, I wouldn't have reeled her in. But it would have been closer. I think it would have been closer than 35 seconds, but I don't think I would have broken the tape first.
So a new concept in a relatively new sport. Gathered the best triathletes in the world in Southern California. Certainly exciting, but obviously some problems yet to be worked out. So for Mike Plant, I'm Tim Brandt saying so long from Oceanside, California.
It's unfortunate to see such a bizarre ending mar the debut of the Tri Prix, and we'll never know if Joy Hansen might have caught Paula NEWBY-FRASER to win that event. Meanwhile, here